Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football coming at you a little bit earlier today. Because the Tigers are playing in a playoff game. We don't want to be running into a playoff game, certainly right up against a playoff game, so we come at you a little bit earlier, and we're here to talk a little Michigan football with you, as always, on this Wednesday, right in the middle of the season. Michigan preparing to take on Washington, trying to go 5-1 in the first half. They have a bye after Saturday night, so it is the halfway point of the season. They'll have another bye later on in the year, but if you're sitting there, if you just spin it forward and think about a victory on Saturday night and Michigan going 5-1, and then you have to reset your expectations, look to the second half. We're going to do all those kind of things today on the show. Specifically, we have to talk about the vibe around this Michigan football program, the fans, the ones that are standing by the Maize and Blue, and others are standing by, but kind of ready to push them off a cliff. We'll get to that. I'll give you the outlook towards Saturday in Seattle against the Huskies, but we'll start with just how big of a game this is for U of M. And it's their first road game. It's a big game in that if they win, we will have 2 weeks to sit around, and it'll depend how they win. I don't know if they could have a sloppy win. Like this past Saturday was a win, but it was a sloppy win. They looked good in the first half, and then they fell apart certainly within two phases of the game. You say the defense too, if you want to say all three phases. It was a wild one, and then finish it off like they would have wanted. And, when you have a game like that, it almost feels like a loss. But, and you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, no, it wasn't a loss. It was a win. But you're going to have to play a lot better, and you know that. And out of these games that they have left, if you wanted to argue that these games are all going to be close, I don't know if they're going to be rolling past anybody, where you're just going to sit back and say a very satisfying win, all three phases of the game, and progress being made. Man, I can't wait to get to the second half, the meat of the schedule for Michigan after what the way they played on Saturday night. Everything's in the realm of possibility. That one, I don't think, if I just took a step back and looked at the rest of the season, that there's going to be a lot of clear sailing. I think there's going to be landmines, and I think, just finding a way. In the NCAA tournament, I said survive and advance. During the year, you can have a 1-point win. You can be like, oh, man, this does not bode well. This is but then you get to the tournament. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You win by 1 point. You're like, all right. Whew, playing again. You see all the upsets. They always happen. You got a chance to do something if you stay alive. So there is that part. It's a big game, Michigan. We don't know how they're going to react on the road. They've had all of these home games. They've had 5 home games that we've seen. You get another game with Alex Orji as the quarterback. It'll be his third game, but it's a big game to get to 5-1. If you can do that, regardless of, I think there's sides that you're on, whether you're feeling like, yeah, hey, Michigan, I'm all behind them, and I'm never wavering. This is my team. I'm fully behind Orji and Sharon Moore. Fine. The other side might be all of that. And they were saying, but, there's no way this is working with what you've seen that has gone on this season, and then in particular the last 2 games. So I understand both sides on that, but I do know that if you can get to 5-1, you can feel good for the next 2 weeks. And maybe you never feel good. I don't know. Some people, I try to tell people, what kind of enjoyment do you get out of sports? And more than half the people out there, their enjoyment is, I don't know if it's not being angry and being mad at somebody or blaming someone, but It's always, teeth clenched. It's not a lot of fun. I can't believe it. And then you get to the off season and they're like, oh man, I can't wait for football next season. It's like, really? You just went through that meat grinder where you're clenching your fists and screaming and yelling and you got enjoyment out of that. And you're like, oh yeah, football's my favorite. So, it's, to each their own when it comes down to that. And you got people on both sides, telling you how you should enjoy the games and everything else. But a big game in that, if you are holding out hope, and you should still hold out hope that Michigan can get to the college football playoff. They're still alive in the Big Ten, certainly still alive for the college football playoff. That is the goal. And if they get to the halfway point with one loss, then hey, you're whatever you want to say, you're in with a chance. And maybe I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic because of two things. Maybe three things. The third one is my age. You get a little bit older, you learn how to deal with wins and losses and seasons. But the only thing you can do about that, it doesn't do you any good. I mean, you can try to tell people, hey, it's not all that bad. And they'll say, I'll make my own determination about that. But the other two things is and this also was a point where I think it ticked some people off, is that Michigan did win the national championship last year. So you have that just right in the rearview mirror, and you are reminded about it this Saturday with Michigan playing Washington, a rematch of the national championship game. You will see some of the highlights of the Natty. You might see the confetti coming down at our NRG Stadium down there in Houston and Michigan on the podium, and it'll bring back a rush of all those fond memories. That's one thing. The other thing, and I don't know how long this is going to last, and I don't know how it's playing with you, but every year when it comes to a team, things can look like way more dire than what they look with Michigan right now. They could look, just completely like they have no chance and anything. That's the way it looked for the Tigers this year, and August 11th, August 10th. And there will always be one person that's the biggest diehard, the loyal follower of the team that will tell you that they are not eliminated and they're still a chance. Even when they had a 0.2% chance, there will still be that fan that will say, I'm never quitting on this team, and stranger things that happen. That's the one, that phrase, the stranger things that happen. And you say, there's not one other person that's thinking like, okay, yeah, in the history of the game, there's been like one team that has done this. And so, yeah, I mean, that's not really. But this year, the Tigers, they are. I don't know if there's anything stranger. I don't know how many years it'll happen, but we will come back to this Tigers team. And then with each and every victory, they won, if they beat the Astros, then everybody, it'll just keep going on. Like, this is a team that everybody counted out. They had a 0.2% chance. And look at them now. Let this be a reminder to sports fans to never give up on your team and stay with them until they're done. And, maybe that's, I don't know. I think there's a little bit of something to that. You can't help when you look at it and say, okay, yeah, all right. You understand percentages. You understand what a 0.2% chance. And you say, we've had our one, Haley's Comet. It's not coming around for another 87 years. So we are not going to see it again. However you want to digest it. But for me, it does make me feel about, the last 10 years I'd watch the Tigers and be like, all right, hey, they got me to Memorial Day. Thanks. They got me to July 4th before I lost interest. This year, they certainly lost my interest and then just got it back little by little by little. And then all of a sudden, wait a second, playoffs. And then here they are. But a little bit of that goes towards Michigan. Things don't look all that hot for them in certain regards, especially when you look at the offense and the passing game. But little by little, let's see. This is, if they're able to get this victory, maybe they will look good Maybe there'll be more progress from the passing offense from the Orgy's first game to second game. He did make progress from USC to Minnesota, and maybe we'll see more. We don't know exactly what. It would be great, oh yeah. This is a game that you can really build on. Those are things that are in the realm of possibility. So big game, and that they need the win to stay alive, and that it's their first road game, and it's the rematch of the national championship and all of that. So that's where we start with how big of a game this is. And yeah, Mark, I mean, I want to watch it. I can do it. I've done it in the past. There's a couple things about working in radio when I worked in Detroit that I did not like. I think right at the top of the list was being on the air opposite of a really big game. Because you're concentrating on what you're saying. For sure, you have to do that. But then you also have a TV that's right in front of you, and then you're watching it, and then you're looking, and you're talking, and then you're taking it all in, and it's just hard. It makes your brain, it's got a lot of different things going on, and so that's why we're starting early. I don't think I would. It's for you. I don't think I would be giving you the best broadcast that I could if I was, checking the score, and you'd say, well, just turn it off or put it on, delay. All those things could have been in play, but this is the route that I have chosen. Andres is talking about the Tigers. He says, great job. Reds fans like myself didn't even know they played baseball this time of year. Yeah. Well, you guys got, Pete Rose to mourn for a couple days or maybe a couple weeks here. And you do have De La Cruz led. That guy's awesome. And yeah, so you do have that going for you. That's it. Mark going all the way back to 1968 in the World Series when they had it on in grade school. It's interesting you say that, Mark. Let's see if I have my book. I don't. I'm reading a book entitled 1968 World Series. I think it's called World Series, but it's about the Tigers and Cardinals in 1968. And I started reading it a couple of weeks ago. I like reading timely books, not that 1968, but it was about baseball. It was still baseball season. And I was going through it. And when the Tigers were going down the tubes or whatever, it was like, okay, this book, it kind of got pushed a little further down the desk. But then as the Tigers started winning, I started reading more pages, and now I'm like, I'm into it kind of thing. So that's that. Now, what was the second thing that we were going to talk about? Oh, the vibe surrounding the team. Give me your vibe surrounding the team. Mine is, I find it interesting working for the Maize and Blue Review because you have a lot of Michigan fans that are on. There's the schedule on the Maize and Blue Review. Obviously, the subscribers, and there's a posting board there, and the fans. You have a lot of different threads. You understand that, like right after a game, that there's going to be a lot of people that. And the emotions are raw, and people say things right after a game, and that even carries over. I don't know if you got a 24-hour rule or a weekend rule, but people are more biting with their comments when it comes to Michigan right after a game. In particular, even if they win, if the game isn't played smoothly or as smoothly as they like. While I tell you this, I do have the information for the Maize and Blue Review up on the screen right now. And for those of you that might be listening on the podcast, it's a great outlet if you love to talk about Michigan all day and all night. It's a great service if you like Michigan football. If you love Michigan football, it's a must for you. If you want to know everything that's going on about Michigan and recruiting, and same thing with basketball, join the Maize and Blue Review today by going to michigan.rivals.com. As an aside, one thing that I didn't realize is that I should have, even though it's 99% Michigan talk on there. A lot of the Michigan fans are also Tigers fans and Lions fans. And because these teams are having success, there are threads that are dedicated specifically to the Tigers and the Lions. And then during the game, if you enjoy hanging out with other Michigan fans, you can do that by jumping in on these threads as the game is going along. Some people like to do that. And you do it on Twitter, it can get a little wild. I don't know where else you do that, but you could do it on the thread at the Maize and Blue Review, and you go get that done. But there's a vibe where there are some people that are like, "Oh, this is," without trying to, call anybody names. You just, the offense hasn't been, a thing of beauty, and the passing game from the turnovers, and then with struggles with the consistency from Orgy, it's got a lot of people down, and down with the wins. Like, that was an improbable win. If the way they won against USC, great win, no doubt, but very improbable win, having to go, 90 yards, and the time that they had to go and to, break off a 63-yarder. Because I don't think anybody thought that they would have been able to get down the field by passing, but they did it. And then they won that game. So you say, okay, we'll build on that. And then things were actually, I would say, taking a trajectory of looking up for the passing game. Orgy, I mean, here's Joel Klatt saying everything that I think we all agreed with, like, just take steps and little things and improvement, development. And then here he was talking about, oh, here's Orgy on Michigan's second series of the third quarter. And he throws a 16-yarder to Kendrick Bell, and Klatt's pointing out the progression. There's one, there's two, and then three. Oh, what a pass. And then Michigan schemes up for people that have been on Kirk Campbell. I understand, if the offense is humming along, people say, hey, Kirk Campbell's pretty good. The offense is a little clunky. It looks like it does nice. Hey, Kirk Campbell needs to call some better plays. Sherrone Moore needs to take over play calling. I mean, that goes with, even if it's not true, there probably is some truth to that. I think there is some truth to that. But even if it's not true, everybody's going to say that. That goes with the territory when it comes down to it. The part that I'm getting to here is that Orgy was developing. Michigan was looking good. They're up 24-3. And they got Colston Loveland, the All-American, on the seam. And Orgy's he just made the 16-yarder. He's about to peg, I don't know, what was that, about a 20-yarder down the seam. That could have gone for a touchdown. And then he had old Dono, the one-arm bandit, leaking out of the backfield. And if he didn't want to go to Loveland, he could have hit Dono. That one looked like it could have gone the distance. Hey, you're talking about a 31-3 game, and oh man, there might be some people like, oh, Michigan, look at this development, look at the play calling, look at this thing's looking good. But we know that's not what happened. That was a turning point in the game. Instead of being 31-3, there's an interception. And on the defensive side, Michigan, they turned it over there, but they go into the fourth quarter, and Minnesota's got to pick up the tempo, and a couple penalties on the Wolverines. Next thing you know, it's instead of a 31-3 game, it's a 24-17 game, and I don't need to keep going. 27-17. 27-24. Oh no, onside kick. All of that. So the vibe around Michigan is that you feel like every game is going to be a dogfight. Every game is going to be a meat grinder. Every game is going to be one of these where Michigan could lose it. And I think that's true. I think that you look at this schedule, that all of these games ahead, Michigan could lose these next two games on the road. Are they going to lose to Michigan State? I'm not ready to say that. Oregon, yeah. At Indiana, I mean, Indiana is one of the stories of college football this year. It's on the road. I don't know. Maybe. I know it's not going to be as easy as you maybe thought. Northwestern, I still feel like that one's going to be easy. And the last game's not going to be easy. So these are a lot of games that are challenging. Can they get through this slate? We'll be talking a lot about the slate after this game at Washington. I think first things first, secure the win against Washington before we start talking about can they get through a gauntlet in the second half with just one loss. I'm waiting. That's my vibe. If there's a vibe, I'm waiting for Saturday night in Seattle. And if Michigan finds a way to win that game, well, then happiness should be abound. You take down a team. I say this, I probably shouldn't say it right now. Teams that lose in a championship or in a playoff game the following year, I usually like that team to beat. Michigan had their whole off season of parades and action. Washington is like, we had our one opportunity in a million years, but now they get to play them again. I usually like that team because that revenge factor. Now look, the Lions beat the Rams in the playoffs last year, and then they beat them this year. So it doesn't happen every time, but that revenge factor is something that is not something to take lightly if you're certainly on the team or as a fan. But this is a winnable game. Rutgers had success running against Washington. Washington lost to Washington State. They're not the team from last year. Yeah, they got a good quarterback, a nice transfer, a nice running back. I mean, they get good talent. Jed Fish is a good offensive mind. He knows what Michigan's going to be bringing to the table. He's going to be, I would think, doing a lot more forcing Michigan to beat them through the air and putting all of his resources into the run game. I think we all say that, and then we even saw it this past Saturday. PJ Fleck had two guys where he could have had him committed right up into the line, and he didn't. It was like, why wasn't he doing that? I don't know. But I think Jed Fish is going to have everybody at the line trying to stop the run, daring, giving up one-on-one with nobody behind him. Cover zero, I believe is what they call it. Overpopulating the line, play the run. So that's what's going to, I would think, happen. But it's still a very winnable game. And for me, it will touch off a 2-week celebration. 5-1, not too shabby heading into the break. Go ahead and just have a party, relax. Nothing can hurt you when you're 5-1 heading into the bye, at least for another 2 weeks. And get a little mini off season, break out the whatever you want to do, cherry pie and whatever else. Have some fun. So that's my vibe. I don't even know if that a vibe. The vibe surrounding Michigan is like, depending on who you talk to, like this thing could be getting gamey quick, but that's my vibe. I want to see what the people are saying in terms of their vibe. Mark has one question for the Michigan coaches, record aside. How is the team progressing relative to your season expectations? Well, Mark, I think that I go to those Monday news conferences, and I'm always thinking about what I'm going to ask Sharon Moore. And I like to ask him questions that I think the Michigan fans will want to know. And I go in with 5 to 10 questions. And if those 10 questions get answered, I don't raise my hand. But there hasn't been a situation yet where every one of my questions get answered. But knowing Sharon Moore, knowing how coaches are going to talk, Sharon Moore would say something like, our goals are always to win the Big Ten. And our goals are always to beat our rivals. And we are going to just take one game as a week by week assessment. So they want to win it all, but they don't get too ahead of themselves because they're just going to be focusing on Washington. That's the kind of answer that you would get. Now you want the honest answer. The honest answer is they have to have been expecting more from the quarterback position, the quarterback room. There's no way that they were sitting before the season thinking, oh, we'll be out there and Orgy wins the job. He'll throw for 24 yards. They weren't thinking that. They were thinking more that he will develop and all of the stuff that they have seen in the practices. They have to have thought that. Kenneth says beating USC will allow the team to continue to get better. I agree with that. Don't forget about the Red Wings. I'm not, yesterday, the playoffs started in baseball. They had 4 games. The Tigers started everything out. What I always remember about the first round of the playoffs, even before they have had this expanded one, every Tuesday in October, it's when the Michigan hockey season would start. They'd always have the hockey show, and it'd always be out on the road, and then they would have the TV on, and they would have the baseball. The baseball playoffs would be on. I'd be like, all right, and we're getting ready. We got baseball playoffs, and we've got hockey, and then after that, quickly, basketball season will be rolling into action as well. So, nope, never too far away to forget about or to look forward to the upcoming winter sports. Here's Mark's vibe. All right. Feels like this team isn't 100% every play. Focus when on gets a good result, but too many plays when someone isn't doing his job. Save the Cartier selfie celebration for after the official review. I think that last part I agree with. I would like to, let's wait to make it official. Nothing like, getting the glasses on and getting the picture, and then they're over there like, no, after further review, that was coming back. So I'm with you. I think this part about 100% of every play, you have a lot of young players and starting roles. This should be expected. Just like the development with the offensive line, the development with the quarterbacks, even though you want more, I would even put some of these late hits and undisciplined, pre-snap penalties. That happens with younger teams, that kind of stuff. Old Slippin' Jimmy is here, wanting to sell you a Rolex or a 50-cent piece for $200. Slippin' Jimmy says Milroe, 374 passing, 117 rushing. Orgy, 86 passing, 12 rushing. Can we stop this Milroe comparison yet? Well, blame Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh last year heading into the Rose Bowl, when he was asked about Jalen Milroe, said, he's a more polished Alex Orgy. Oh, more polished Alex Orgy. And Orgy's bigger than Jalen Milroe. And then Jalen Milroe played against Texas last year. Then the game after that, he got benched. And so, there's some comparisons there. And Milroe was about, can he harness his passing game? But Orgy hasn't looked anything like, this is one of I'll give you my surprise when it comes to Orgy. I'm surprised he's not been more electric, more dangerous. He hasn't looked better running the ball. I think it's a comfort issue with him. He's got so many things going on. The passing isn't working. He's worried about the turn. The game's still fast for him. I think when it slows down that he'll be better running the ball. It's a tough learning curve. We all know that. But yeah, so Milroe's older. And what are you going to do when it comes down to that? Toby, he feels like every game's going to be a nail biter. I'm with you. Andres wants to see Orgy pass for 100 and rush for 100. The backs and the defense can handle the rest versus almost any other opponent. Yeah, I'm going to get to that in the outlook coming up here. Andres, I don't know if Orgy has to pass for 100 and certainly run for 100. I mean, those sound, I don't know, achievable. 100 passing should be achievable. I don't know about 100 rushing. I mean, that's amazing, if he's going to be doing something like that. Your part about the defense is that the defense was put in some bad spots last week, but the last 2 weeks, and they didn't have Josiah Stewart, and they didn't have Will Johnson last week, and those guys are expected to play on Saturday. I think the defense is coming around, and they're the defense that we talked about all off season. I think that can be something to hang your hat on in the second half for this team. Ferris still believes that Alex Orgy can, in fact, complete a forward pass. He just wants to see them beat Washington, then get to the bye. Yeah, and then, even though it sounds cliche, one game, like, just beat Washington right now. I'm starting to talk about heading to Illinois and, beating Oregon. I don't really want to predict those games right now. Or, how they're going to do in the second half. Let's wait till after Saturday. I am doing that. Kenneth says he sees us being undefeated going into the Oregon game. Well, that would be great. Kenneth, that would be really nice. That means they would win Saturday. They would win at Illinois. They would beat Michigan State 3 in a row, which would actually be 4, 5, 6 in a row. I don't know. Am I ready to get there? Am I ready to make that prediction? I'm not there with you yet, Kenneth. That's nice. I like the positivity. I think people are like, all right, Kenneth, we're all behind you. I'm just not sure I can get there right now. Yeah, we know what you meant. You meant one loss going into the Oregon game. Dre thinks Roger should have 280 passing. He's the quarterback for the Huskies. But he thinks we stop the run game and get a lot of pressure on him. Well, let's get to the outlook for this game coming up from me. And then, so the outlook, the defense can be dominant. They have that ability. They showed that in the first half against USC. And then it was a big deal closing out that game against USC. Guys like Jair Hill and Zeke Berry, they are developing. They look good. The linebackers didn't look so hot. And I'm talking about Houseman and Jay-Sean Barham. In the first game or two, their play has been getting better. The stars of this team, they're coming alive there, and having Will Johnson. We know what he brings to the table. I feel like, so this is my outlook. I feel like the Michigan defense is going to travel figuratively and literally. And the figurative part is that they're going to travel, and that means they're going to show up and pressure this quarterback, and they're going to they're not giving up. They shouldn't give up more than 20 points against Washington. So feel good about the defense. The offense, I don't know. I don't know. People want to see more from Orgy running. They want to see different plays. I just want to see them look like an offense that can move the ball. I want something that I can feel more optimistic about for the second half. This is only Alex Orgy's third game. I know that, and I don't know how often I'm going to be, going back if they drop this game saying, oh, things were going so well for him until that second series in the second half against Minnesota where he threw the pick. He needs to look better, progress, whatever it looks like. I don't know. You would say, building. it's never exactly how we would want it. Like, oh, okay, now, yeah, he had his little bit, but now he'll have no turnovers and he'll start using the field. He'll look better with his legs. People will feel a little bit better about the play calling. That would be great. I doubt all of those things are going to fall into place like that. But what I think can happen is that I think Michigan can have a dominant run game. And I think that they can do what they did against Washington back in 2021. And that is where Smash was born. That's where they had the ground and pound, where they ran for 349 yards. And they didn't have to worry about throwing. That's what they can do. I don't know if they're going to run for, 350. But I think that they can get up a couple scores by running the ball and with some safe passes, and they can get a lead. And that's going to be important for Michigan. They need to get a lead. Seeing this team having to come from behind where they have to throw the ball, that's even going to be more difficult. Michigan needs to run the ball where they've got everybody up there, and then Orji should be able to. They don't even have to scheme it up. He's going to have single coverage out there. Let's see him be able to make some throws, put it on the receiver. If he can't throw the ball from the pocket down the sideline for a guy, well, drag him across the field where there's just one guy there with some play action. Got to be able to do some of that. Let's go back to that play where he had Donovan Edwards and he had Colston Loveland. Those are really two nice options for touchdowns. Let's see him connected this time. And a lot could be helped out with this offensive line. We know that they have taken steps and they look physical, look good, running the ball. Joel Hadi said he liked how the team handled what the Gophers were throwing at him with stunts and twists, and he thought they performed well that way. Hey, good. That's what you're going to need. You need the line, which we know with a bunch of new guys that they are going to take their time. They need to start taking over and helping their quarterback. And the last thing that I get to is the wide receivers. You hear people that are at the game saying the receivers aren't open. And, there's some truth to that. I can see it when Orji's back there. But I also believe what I have seen from these receivers, that they're better than what they've shown. And when you're a defensive back and you don't worry about getting beat over the top, when you're not so worried about a quarterback being able to push the ball down the field, you get stickier in your coverage. You take a little bit closer steps. And that's a factor too. So I know it sounded like people were down on the wide receivers, like these wide receivers suck. Ron Bellamy sucks. They can't recruit. Well, a part of that has to do with the quarterback as well. If that can, I don't know if it's going to unlock all of them, but when it comes to Fred Moore, I've seen enough. When it comes to Tyler Morris and Samaj Morgan, those guys they're capable. I still think one of those guys can be a star. I think they're better than when I hear people say these guys can't get open. The recruiting's really fun. I think they're better than that. Can they run better routes? That always seems like you can. But what's going to help them? A quarterback being able to put the ball on them. That's what's going to help those wide receivers more than anything. All right. I've unloaded where I'm at and how I see things coming up on Saturday. Let's see what the people have to say. Dre says Alex is still learning. No doubt. And he didn't get those first 3 games, just got a smattering of plays, so that put him further behind. I said I wasn't going to say behind the 8 ball. I was saying that a bunch. It just, is accelerated his learning curve, whatever. Andres says, I hope it's a washout. Also, I think this team will do well on the road, getting away from all the whiny fans these days. Yeah, I don't know. The crowd working against them. All fans there's a lot of whiny fans. We legit can be in the top 10 going into the Illinois game. Yeah, well, get a win. They should wear more ties. People are responding to the ties. Can someone ask about Cole Cabana? Yes, I'll ask about Cole Cabana. Yeah, when I see Keyshawn Harris returning kicks, I wonder, could that be Cole Cabana? So I hear what you're saying about that. It's a good one. Let's see if I can do that. John will read some of the feedback here. Finding ways to win. That's what this coaching staff is doing. A W is a W. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure about moving Cabana right now. P. Maximus says Rutgers has a solid Big Ten defense, and Washington put up almost 400 yards and missed 3 field goals. We better be ready to play a complete game. I don't think there's no doubt about that. Smash is looking at the subscriber numbers. I wanted to get to 5K before this Washington game, and we're a measly 10 away. That's it? 10? What's going to happen when we get to 5,000? Dre's looking back. We should have started Alex the first 3 games. Well, Milrow has some receivers to work with. I've already answered that. You know, he's got a lot more games under his belt as well. Slippin' Jimmy says if people only watch Michigan football every weekend, they have no idea how horrific this offense looks. I think people realize what's going on, and I think that's part of it. And some people, they don't like and yeah, I understand this. I don't know how much good it does. Somebody was calling, Andres was calling, Michigan whiny fans, calling Alex Orji a linebacker, a wildcat, the offense is horrific. Dave Portnoy saying, this offense has been orgied. That's, making fun of them. And there's a lot of Michigan fans that stand up. Don't make fun of them. But then, don't make fun of them. But also, what are you supposed to say? You can go back. Not everyone is going to be able to take this approach. And this approach is a nice one, which is, when we had one, and it's from John. Be like John. A win's a win. Finding ways to win. That's what this coaching staff is doing. Just look at the positive when it comes down to Alex Orji. That's it. Not many, he will get heaped with praise if he can come out and find a way to improve. I was expecting more, and I was not expecting a lot, but I was expecting more from Orji. So that's it. We'll read a couple more. M Go Blue, 1, 2, 3, 4. Special teams and turnovers going to be huge if we win this game. It needs to be off of better field positioning than Washington. He says he doesn't see us sustaining long drives. Well, I'm with you up until the sustaining of long drives. I mean, if you're able to run the football, they've got one of the best backs in the country and an offensive line that's been coming along, and they've performed well, graded out well in run blocking. Michigan can sustain drives. They can, you want more sustained drives, but yeah, winning special teams, that sounds like heading into every game. Is it a big game and a road game and a night game? I'm going to check that box. Michigan's got a punter. They got a field goal kicker. Last game, they gave up that 60-pluser on punt. None of that. They blocked the punt. but they also gave up a huge one. So, win special teams, you've got the defense, and then it's going to come back to the offense. I think getting a lead for this team, getting a lead is important because it's not going to, you're just going to put more pressure on the passing game if you fall behind. And as much as we all love the drive against USC, that is something that you cannot count on. And I know a lot of people have said that. And that's the thing about a win is a win, but you can't count on going 90 yards and in 2 minutes running the ball. It's not going to happen. He thinks things could slow down for Alex after the bye week. Yeah, that's something that what would be nice to hear and nice to feel after Saturday is saying, hey, the game really did look like, we would all say it. Game looked like it slowed down for Alex. And then afterwards, more saying the same thing. And then you get into the bye week and you feel good about that. You want to feel better about this offense and Orgy. Jimmy says he's talking recruiting. Doesn't know how a recruit can watch his team and think it'd be fun to play there. These games are virtually unwatchable. Well, I hear what you're saying there. Some recruits could look at it and say, I can find a path to playing time quicker, and that could be something. But look, that I understand what you're saying, and it's a point that's taken. I'm not always looking to, but guys are valuing different things. But yeah, playing in an offense, you watch Georgia and Alabama, that was a little bit more exciting than the second half of the Minnesota game. Well, I hear you. Brian says Campbell is not qualified to call plays at the high school level. Terrible hire. No creativity with the offense. This is a quite name calling. Kirk Campbell. Matt Campbell is the coach at Iowa. This goes with the territory. When the offense looks like Michigan's offense, you're going to say, boy, the quarterback, and a lot of people have, doesn't look like, it struggles to throw the ball. And that's accurate. I think that Campbell is handcuffed by Orgy's inability to throw the football. Having said that, he's the one that picked the guy. They could have gone about this way differently in terms of the spring and the fall camp and how many reps that he was getting, and then during the week and all the reps they were getting, and the offense that they picked. And he is ultimately calling the plays. So while this is harsh, and you're talking about the high school level play calling, it's a lot of it is pass fail. And I know they're winning, but a lot of it is, the proof is what we're watching. We're looking out there. Even if he is handcuffed, try something else. Be more creative. Run him more. Find some different things. Yeah. Brian, harsh but true. Let's see what Penn Game says. Rivalry game. We got to get focused. First half last week, build from there. I'm with you on that. Rutgers is not that good on defense. That goes back to what you were saying there. PG, our offense is literally 3 weeks behind with Alex. We got to relax. Yeah, I don't know. I'm relaxed. You're telling everybody else, but I'm going to relax and slide right into Saturday night, see how things look, and see what progress has been made. P. Maximus says, Sharon says there will be going back to ones against ones in practice. Iron sharpens iron. Actually didn't hear him say that. It was But all right. I mean, that's it this week. Sounds like a good idea. Whatever you can do to get this win on Saturday, I think they should do. Calvin not liking the statistics from Orgy in the last two games. I get that. Oh, here's the Flint Truth Channel. What's up with our offensive coordinator? I talked about that. Jimmy, why do we have the only freshman quarterback in the country who doesn't want to play? Yeah, I think Jimmy. I don't. This sounds like one of the easy. Like if I was doing a podcast, I just wanted to attract the viewers. I would be ranting about Jadyn Davis. But Jimmy, what is really happening when it comes down to the quarterback position is that there are a lot of true freshmen, even 5 stars and whatever you wanted to put Jadyn Davis at, 4-star with a could be 5-star, one-time 5-star, slip to a 4-star, whatever, highly rated quarterback that came in. The majority of even the highly rated quarterbacks take time before they can get out there. And a lot of times it has to do with their weight and their strength and, I don't know, knowledge of the offense. So, I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's over the top, but Michigan doesn't have the only freshman quarterback in the country who doesn't want to play. I know. You saying that, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's other podcasts or other people that are saying things. I got enough of it that 2 weeks ago, I asked Sharon Moore, did you cut any deal with Jadyn Davis's family about him not wanting to play at all this year, that he wanted to redshirt? He said, there's been no deal. And there's the possibility that he could play. So I don't know. And you say, the coach is going to lie or, whatever. So good. I mean, I feel like this is a little TMZ stuff. Jadyn Davis has a lot of TMZ stuff going on. Yeah. I mean, I look at the you'd say if there was ever a quarterback that could play as a true freshman, considering what we've seen, it should be Jadyn Davis. So I get that part. But most of the time, true freshman quarterback, however they're rated, aren't ready. Now, I don't, behind this offensive line, I think at some point. But I think this is more like made up. I think this stuff is mostly made up. I'm not saying for sure. This is made up. There's some deal. I think Davis really is saying, I don't want to play. Well, come on. Is that what you think, Jimmy? Davis went in with his camp and said, look, we don't want to play this year. We just want to chill. What? I don't think I'll have to ask. There's some football players that are watching this pod. I have never in my life come across a Michigan football player that went in and said, I don't want to play this year. Not a one. So you're telling me that Davis doesn't want to play and that his dad told Michigan that his kid doesn't want to play. You're going to recruit a kid and stuff. There's like, we really like this kid and everything else. Like, we really don't want him to play. We might need him. No. Cut me a deal. I mean, just think about it a little bit. Again, attracts a lot. Quarterback position not playing well. This is going to be a hot button topic. It's a very TMZ-ish. You don't really have to have any facts. You can just kind of say things. Just think it through, Jimmy. Think it through. And then think wherever you're getting the information from. You're not just making this up yourself. You're getting it from somebody. And then ask yourself, is this a legitimate source that I'm getting this from? Or is this site or is this person prone to talk out of his ass? Because I don't think you're just coming up with it, because I see it a lot. So I really don't get that part. Again, Flint says, can Davis Warren really be that bad? Come on now. Well, we've seen Davis Warren. If the game was put the quarterback in an orange jersey and put him in a bubble and you're not allowed to touch him, Davis Warren might be all Big Ten because he can stand back there and throw the ball around the yard with the best of them. But in tackle football, with the quarterback position, keeping your head up the field when you've got 300-pound guys in your face trying to rip your freaking head off, what happens is you lose your base a little bit and the game gets fast and your arm gets hit and your feet don't get set and you start throwing the ball off your back foot and then you start throwing it to the other team. And then Warren kept doing that repeatedly. He had a number of opportunities to do that. The game is too fast for him and he plays off platform. He's not good enough to play off platform where he's wet behind the ears. What's going to happen if you do that is you're going to be a turnover machine, and that's what he is. And then once you pull him, then he's lost for the year. You know, a lot of these, I don't know, and I'm not saying this is the Michigan coaching staff that they just play video games, but I think a lot of fans do this. You know, it's fun to take a guy out, put a guy in, let's play two, let's go into game week. Hey, these guys are all going to play. The best coaches that I have seen, they stand by their quarterbacks. They work with their quarterbacks. They're always trying to infuse confidence in their quarterbacks. It's such an important piece of football. That guy's got to get it right. That guy needs to be your leader. Everybody needs to get behind one guy, one voice. Michigan screwed that up this year. I don't know, so far, maybe they can, correct this. And after Saturday, we're going to have 2 weeks to feel really good about it and everything else. But the rotation, this is why people don't like it. There's no going back to Davis Warren. This is not a video game. His confidence is destroyed. Where do you think Orgy's confidence is at? That's why at least on that game week, he said Orgy's our quarterback. A lot of people even all the people that are, let's not say anything. No, you need to say something. You need to get behind your quarterback. Everybody needs to get behind him. He needs that confidence. And now more than ever. You saw Davis Warren. I mean, what are you talking about? What am I talking about? Here's Positive John. My gut tells me next year will be totally different. Michigan will break the bank and get players. I don't know. Is that my gut does not tell me that. My gut tells me that, Michigan, sure, they're going to look at some things, but and will they spend some money, people? But are they going to break the bank to get players? So they're going to break the bank and start paying top dollar for 5-star recruits? That's what that sounds like. I don't see that. I think some selected few they're going to take a run at. And one of them might be a QB, and it could be in the transfer portal, but I don't think it's going to be totally different. And the breaking the bank, I'm not agreeing with this. Utah and Oklahoma play freshman quarterbacks. Yeah, well, Oklahoma went down the tubes. Look, if let's just say we'll talk about a terrible situation, slipping Jimmy. Let's say Orgy looks like bad on Saturday night. Is there a chance that they go to Davis Warren? Sure. Is there a chance that they, put up Jadyn Davis or Jack Tuttle? I don't know what his health status is. He's, I've never seen him. He's always hurt. They go to another quarterback at Illinois. And then what you're talking about with Jadyn Davis, they're going to have him up and then start him first game against Michigan State. I don't know how he looks in practice. Sometimes guys get up there and they got deer in the headlights and they're just not ready. That doesn't mean that he can't be a good quarterback. I haven't heard one report like, oh yeah, he's just in the summer and in fall camp, Moore was effusive with his praise of Davis, like, oh, he's got it. But I don't know how far he's come along and all of that. But could he play if this? I don't think you want Jadyn Davis to play. If Jadyn Davis plays, there's going to be a couple more losses and some injuries, and then you're kind of going to be forced into that. So be careful what you wish for there when it comes down to that. Let's see. FTC just watched Jed Fish smiling about Michigan's line. Was smiling, talk about Michigan line. He's expecting an easy win, but he was respectful to Michigan, but seems smug. I can see why Jed Fish got his tennis outfit on, sitting back. Jed Fish respects Michigan more than anybody that's probably watching this right now. So, but yeah, I would want my coach to feel confident. I can guarantee you this, FTC, Jed Fish is not expecting an easy win. He could be, he should expect a win. What kind of coach are you if you're not expecting a win? But I don't think he's expecting an easy win. As a freshman who wants to play behind Evan Link, a guy that has balls and is a competitor and wants to get out on the field and compete, just being a competitor. So yeah, hopefully Jadyn Davis, Michigan's in trouble if Jadyn Davis and his family wanted to punt the freshman year and just wrap me up in bubble. I don't want to play no matter what. I've told some reporter, my daddy, told some reporter that we would favor just, chilling this year, that he's never going to be a quarterback anywhere with that approach. You know who that reminds me of? And somebody saying, who wants to play? Every competitor wants to play. It reminds me of Amani Bates. Amani Bates was one of the greatest basketball players ever, but his dad already wanted the LeBron James treatment when the kid was in 8th grade. And I'm not saying anything. Jadyn Davis, I don't know if it's his daddy that's calling up, people and telling them, this or that, or the guy's just making things up or thinking, well, wow, it's this bad. But this notion, just ask yourself, ask somebody, Johnny, you're a big Michigan fan. Ask people that have ever played or know somebody that's played or an athlete at the highest level that you know. And ask them if you think anybody's begging out of a game at any point going into college and see what kind of answer you get. And then come on back to me. This is all fan stuff. And look, people like to read, salacious copy. The Davises don't want to play this year behind the Michigan offensive line. Well, okay. Well, why are you here? And then you think you're going to play next year? Next year, you're going to be okay after you go through it a little bit? I can tell you this. If there's any truth to the Davis taking a year off, then he's never going to play it down at Michigan, or he's never going to play a series that's going to amount to everything, if that part is true. And again, I think you could tell that I don't think that there's any truth to it. So there you go. And I want names. Who is it that you guys? Is there one dude that has just jumped on these feeds that has come up with this, and then everybody just kind of feeds off of it? Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And the dude's sitting back and saying, I just threw it out there. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought it'd be fun. But everybody's taking it and run with it. I can tell you that part's BS. Little premature, but I like the energy. Brady Hart is a dog. That's it. I mean, hey, every player that I see that I've listened to over the last 10 years, you know what they all talk about? Oh, he's a dog. He's a dog. Just talking about, not really interested in. Does that sound like a dog? That sounds like a cat to me. Michigan wants dogs, not cats. All right. Well, I am going to say that if the report is coming from Webb, I am going to say that Michigan's in trouble then with Jadyn Davis. Now, here's the part, Flint. I know that Sam is from Flint and everything. What I don't like to do, unless I hear it from nothing against you, you might have exactly heard that from him, but I can't take Flint Truth Channel, and I asked you to name names and you did, but I can't take that as fact. You may have heard Sam say something like he talked to his old man and his dad was thinking that what could be best for him is if that he had a year to get acclimated and this would be the best, which is a little different than saying, I know, we don't want him to play or having those conversations. And if this doesn't, again, this has nothing to do with the reporter that you're talking about here. I can't see this kid's parents saying this. They don't want him to play because he's not ready. That doesn't sound like something a parent of a highly rated quarterback who's a dog would say. That sounds like his parents are dogs. It just doesn't. I think that you just missed, and it can be, you say they would prefer and what might be best for him, but you don't. Again, I asked, and I appreciate it because a couple of weeks ago, Webb was at one of those press conferences, and I was asking him about Ohio State, something that somebody said that he started. And he said, yeah, I did say that. So if I come across him, I'll have to ask him again. Slipping Jimmy here. So kind of the same thing. All right. Well, let's see if we get a last call here. Going out of the bottom. Does anybody get in? It was a Richard. Defense travels. Link has had a tough time in pass blocking. That's true. Calvin. Isn't Jadyn Davis a fringe top 300 player? No, there was a big discrepancy depending on who was evaluating Davis. I think that when it came down to it is that Davis isn't the biggest guy. He had a little bit of and I saw it even in the spring game. He throws from 3/4, has a different kind of looking delivery, and he doesn't look like he's a super athlete. Now, look, he could be a great quarterback. I mean, if Tom Brady was not a super athlete, but and there's plenty of guys who aren't super athletes, 6'5", and throw the ball the length of the field. And they can be great quarterbacks, but you understand that when you get out and you're being evaluated and you might not like the delivery, you might not like the velocity, you might not like the athletic ability in terms of a grade, and so you knock that down a little bit. But the people that have watched him play, and I don't know, like those people could be right. I get that as evaluators from people that have watched him people that have watched him play. But the part that I am sitting here is a kid automatically putting a red shirt on him, and his dad getting involved, and talking to somebody in the media. No thanks from me. I know you guys eat all that kind of stuff up. Helps Sam, and Sam's not really. I guess I don't know. Doesn't seem to be prone to too much TMZ-ish stuff. So I just think you guys didn't hear him right. That's just what I'm going to say. All right. 3 more. I don't know. That was not to me. How all of you are complaining fans stop watching the games this year and come back next year. No, I think, fans, I get that. It's midweek. Look, I'm just looking forward to the game on Saturday night. I have to do something between now and, Saturday. And, talking with Michigan fans and seeing how they feel about the team is something that I like. I wouldn't expect everybody to go back, oh, everything's going great. Because, it might not be. DVR. Don't throw him in the fire. That's all. Wait till he's ready. Calvin, save him for later this season. Okay. They're going to end the Jadyn Davis portion of this broadcast. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to go watch some Tigers baseball. If you're just getting in, you're saying, this is weird. I was here and you were already on. We started at 1 o'clock today, went a little bit longer because of playoff baseball, specifically the Tigers. I'm off to go watch that. I'll come back on Friday, be joined by Jerry Diario. Until then, we'll see you over on the Maize and Blue Review. Go to michigan.rivals.com. We're only a couple away from 5,000 subscribing for this podcast. So if you have not, that would be awesome if you did that, because we are trying to get to 5K. Have a great day. If you felt like I was screaming at you, I was just screaming. Not at you specifically. It's all good. Thanks for watching.